The Apple Watch might be getting all the buzz lately, but that doesn't mean there aren't other smartwatches out there. In fact, there are many out there, including the relatively new ASUS ZenWatch, which I decided to pick up since we haven't looked at it yet here on Phone Dog. So let's go ahead and unbox it and see what it's all about. Hey, what is up, Phone Dogs? BoHD here, and the ASUS ZenWatch is an Android Wear device, but what makes it so special is its affordable, or relatively affordable, $200 price tag, which is almost half the price of the base model Apple Watch, which is expected to come out here pretty soon. Now, the ZenWatch does feature a 1.63-inch AMOLED display with a 300 by 320 resolution. It also has an IP55 water-resistant rating. It's being powered by a Snapdragon 400 processor clocked at 1.2 GHz, and it does have a 9-axis sensor as well as a biosensor. So it doesn't have quite all of the bells and whistles as, say, the Moto 360, like an ambient light sensor or dual microphones, but it does have a heart rate monitor built into the bezels, and it also does cost less. So upon opening the box, we will find the ASUS ZenWatch sitting right on top, looking pretty darn fancy with its brown leather strap. There's a 5-pin charging cradle underneath of here, which sits directly on the back of the ZenWatch, so it's not quite wireless charging, which kind of sucks, but it's probably the next best thing. Then we have a bunch of paperwork for the warranty, the instructions, and just the get started packets, all of which are pretty standard for new devices. And then there's a little pouch that holds the micro USB charging cable, and then there's also a US wall wart that is included here, but that's about it. So after taking the ZenWatch out of its protective plastic, it really doesn't look too bad, but I did immediately notice the kind of rather thick bezels around the entire device, most notably on the top and bottom, but that's mostly just because these bezels do house the biosensor, so you can actually put your 2 fingers on the bezels and measure your heart rate, which is kind of cool. The display also does seem unusually small since I do use the Moto 360 on a regular basis as my kind of daily driver smartwatch, but it's not too much smaller really. The leather band also looks pretty nice, and it looks like you can easily swap out the band, so if you don't like this stock look, then don't worry about it, it is customizable. With that said, I do like the clasp in the sense that you don't have to get it shortened at a watch shop, so you can do it yourself and it'll be ready to go right out of the box. But the metal clasp itself is pretty thick, like it adds like a whole bunch of bulk to the bottom of your wrist. And the leather strap itself is also pretty darn stiff. It's definitely going to take some time to kind of loosen it up, but it is genuine leather, and this is kind of to be expected. So between those two things, I'll just have to get used to it, I guess. As for the watch body itself, I love that it's made of metal and that it's minimalistic with only one little tiny physical button hiding on the back. It's also pretty darn thin and sits on my arm or my wrist pretty well. Also, if you look up close, it does appear to have a very slight curve to it since the display is slightly curved itself. I just wish it had an ambient light sensor so I don't have to manually adjust the display brightness when I'm outside. The software is Android Wear, which is no real surprise at all, and it's a very simple OS that is comprised of cards, which Google kind of forces you to take a tour of every time you set up an Android Wear device, which I thought was kind of annoying since I kind of know how it works, but I do understand it since wearables are pretty new. The first thing I did check when I got past the setup was to see what version of Android it was running, and it was Android 4.4 initially out of the box. But I did update it to the most recent version of Android 5.0 Lollipop, which allows you to do a couple different things. You can change the priority of notifications, you can enable theater mode, enable sunlight mode, and then access these settings more easily with the slide down notification panel. There is also a pretty good selection of watch faces pre-installed on here, and you can use the ZenWatch Manager app to customize your watch faces, so that is good to see. But overall, the ASUS ZenWatch is $200, making it one of the least expensive new Android Wear watches on the market. So let me know what you'd like me to focus on specifically in my full review, and I do plan on comparing it to the Moto 360, so stay tuned for that, and just let me know what you think of this device based off first impressions. With that said, I'm BoHD. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon in the next one. See ya.